It's hard to imagine that someone else might have a similar story like mine, but if they do, they might be hesitant to share. But I will share mine anyway. I am 37 years old and she's 31. I work in finance and she's in healthcare. We were together for 6 months, which might seem short, but I never doubted my feelings for her. I trusted her when she said she loved me and just wanted to be with me. She seemed genuinely happy when we were together, and that made me very happy too. We have never been married, don't have kids, and we don't live together. Last winter, she ended a 4-year relationship, and around the same time, I came out of a 1-year relationship. We met through a mutual friend and really hit it off. What stood out to me earlier on was that both of us wanted to be careful and make sure we weren't just rebounding from our previous relationships. She had a period after her breakup where she enjoyed some freedom and had some time to get back to feeling like herself before my last relationship. I regained my self-confidence and felt secure in setting boundaries for myself. She said and did things that convinced me that she was serious and ready for a new relationship. She had a lot of experience when it comes to ex and relationships. I was impressed by her maturity in this area. She made it clear that she believed in open communication and respecting each other's boundaries. She also mentioned that she preferred being in monogamous relationship. When I look back, I realized there were warning signs I missed. I know she drinks heavily at times, and she often uses it as an excuse to act freely. She tried to distance herself from those moments by blaming it on different sides of her personality, even though I only witnessed it a few times and didn't see any signs of unfaithfulness during those moments. I convinced myself I didn't need to worry about her being faithful, especially when she always emphasized the importance of honesty and responsibility. As I write this, I feel foolish, ignoring the signs and hope they wouldn't harm me in some way. But hope alone isn't enough. Just 6 months into our relationship, it felt right to propose to her because I believed she was the one for me. It didn't seem like we were rushing anything. The next logical step was for her to move in with me when her lease expired, which would be after she's back from her trip. Before we met, she had always planned a trip to Africa. She enjoys going on international ventures and meeting new people during her travels, which she does at least once every 3 years. I wouldn't be going on the trip with her, but we were both thrilled about this amazing opportunity for her, and we kept in constant contact during her trip. We openly talked about our feelings for each other, and there is no room for doubts or confusion in our words about how we felt. When she arrived in Africa, she lost contact with her planned taxi, and when she finally got access to Wi-Fi at the airport, she had a difficult time reaching out to her ride. She was wary of using airport taxi service. She reached out to me, and I was able to notify her contact who was supposed to pick her up from the airport. Her trip was supposed to last 2 weeks, during which she would travel across East Africa. Once she settled into her hotel, she told me that she went downstairs to the bar and met a man who was from a different city but lived in that country. He was on a business trip and liked to have fun when he was in town. He had come with a friend and they were sharing a room at the hotel. Coincidentally, her new friend had also booked the same tour package as her. Since he had been on that tour several times, he could act as her tour guide around town because she didn't have any friends there. We communicated through WhatsApp as soon as she connected her phone to the local service called M-Pesa, which is used for payments and phone services in that area. We spoke and texted whenever we could. That was when she mentioned that she had met this guy that I spoke about earlier, and she felt he was trustworthy. We had a phone conversation the night she met the stranger, and during that call, she reassured me of her love for me. I was worried about her because I thought it might be challenging for a woman traveling alone, but she seemed to enjoy every moment of it. That was all I knew about the stranger she met at the hotel at the time, till everything unraveled. In her final weeks there, she decided to take an unplanned trip to a coastal beach resort. It was part of her plan to have the flexibility to take spontaneous trip anywhere in the country. So it wasn't surprising or any bit suspicious to me. The trip turned out to be quite chaotic, with flight cancellation and her baggage getting lost, though she later managed to recover it. I supported her during all the travel troubles she faced. When I picked her up from the airport, I was excited to have her back and hold her again after 2 weeks of missing her. We made out and went home, but I could see that something was bothering her during our drive home from the airport. I was looking forward to being intimate with her when we get to her apartment. However, she asked me to sit down and then she confessed. She told me that she had cheated on me and had unprotected ex with the total stranger she met at the hotel within 24 hours of telling me that she didn't want to be intimate with anyone else. It felt like a sudden and painful blow to my heart. My world felt like it had turned upside down, and I was in shock. When she saw how hurt I was, she attempted to claim that the affair wasn't consensual and that she was drunk. However, when I looked through her phone and found numerous pictures, not only with the one guy, but with his friend, three of them smiling on the beach and during the safari, she finally confessed. She admitted to not only having an affair with the one guy, but also with both of them at the same time. I was devastated by this revelation. She tried to blame it on alcohol, but I didn't believe her, especially considering she had taken a 6-hour train journey with them to the beach resort. As her excuses began to unravel, she also tried to say that we had moved too fast and that she had wished I had been there with her. She even tried to convince me that that experience with the sound of the animals in the background was something special. She didn't want to look back on the trip and feel regrets, as if it would be unfair to her. With each attempt to downplay what happened and avoid responsibility, I felt more and more heartbroken. I can quote her text to me from the day I believe this happened. I want to be clear that as of right now in my life, I didn't want to have any experience with any other person in my bed than you. Maybe the key phrase there was my bed. It seems straightforward, but it clearly contradicts her actions. When I tried to understand why she was confessing, she claimed that she felt guilty and used, as both men had done this to several women. Since we weren't married, we didn't have children, and didn't live together, we decided it was best to part ways and end our 6 month relationship. The breakup left me devastated. What shocked me the most was that it had taken us 3 months of dating and getting to know each other before we became intimate. She had only started using contraception a few months after we became intimate because we were concerned about STDs and pregnancy. We had both undergone an STD test before we stopped using protection. However, she had unprotected ex with these men within 24 hours of meeting them. This made me wonder if it was consensual, especially considering the level of caution and scrutiny we had gone through before becoming intimate without protection. This convinced me that I might not have known her as well as I thought I did. Our breakup was mutual and not filled with conflict as she returned the engagement ring. Since we didn't live together, it lessened the heartbreak and allowed me to heal more quickly. What hurt the most was that I had already introduced her to my parents and family members, so I had to inform them of our breakup, but chose not to disclose the details due to embarrassment. After she returned from the trip, we lost contact for about 2 months following our breakup. Then, out of the blue, I received a call from someone at the hospital informing me that I might have been exposed to HIV and that my name was listed as one of the contacts of my ex-fiancée. My heart sank and I felt genuinely scared. Even though we hadn't had intercourse after she returned from her trip, however, we had engaged in a long makeout session. I immediately called my ex-fiancée since we hadn't blocked each other's contact. She broke down in tears and admitted that she initially thought she had the flu 2 weeks after the trip. However, she had later found out that she had contracted HIV but was too embarrassed to tell me about it. I told her that she had put my life at risk by not telling me sooner, but she replied that we hadn't been intimate after she returned. I was genuinely concerned for her because I had the impression that a HIV diagnosis meant certain death. She tried to reassure me by explaining that HIV can be managed and that there are cases where it has been cured. She also mentioned that there are many people with HIV who lead normal lives. When you are faced with the mortality of someone you know, even though you don't have strong feelings for them, you still feel empathy and wish for them to receive the best cure in the world. I found myself wanting the best for her, despite the fact that she had put my life in danger. I was willing to offer my help, even though she told me that she was already receiving top-notch treatment. I feel lucky and blessed because if she hadn't told me about the affair, I wouldn't have suspected anything, and we might have continued our relationship where we left off. This could have potentially led to dire outcome. I believe the universe was trying to tell me that it wasn't my time. For me, it's been a valuable learning lesson. I am sharing this story in the hope that someone else might learn from it. While each situation may be different, there might be a lesson to be gained from my experience.